Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Expats in Ukraine with your host, me, Corey. Today, my guest, his name is Richard Woodruff. He's from the UK. He's a British volunteer turned kamikaze drone factory owner. But according to this patch, he doesn't make drones. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Corey.
No, thank you so much for the patch, man, and then the shirt and the flag. You really hooked me up.
I wanted to spoil you. I've seen a few of your episodes now, and I love what you're doing, spreading the message of Ukraine abroad. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, you messaged me on Twitter. I guess you messaged me with the John Sweeney video. You messaged me on Twitter, and I don't go on Twitter at all. And I was like, who is this guy? I'm like, oh, Richard Woodruff. I'm like, oh, wow, man. Like, I was looking at your videos. I was looking at all your posts. I'm like, wow, I need to have him on the podcast. And I'm sorry if I was bugging you after that. Like, check your DMs, check your DMs. But yeah, I really wanted you on the podcast. So thank you so much for coming down.
Happy to be here. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and then you came from Lviv, right?
Yeah, came from Lviv specifically to actually meet with you. I hadn't been doing enough of this, getting out there on the news outlets and media and obviously podcast shows. So I thought, you know what, I need to actually come and meet with you and have a good chat, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be a great chat. Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, you brought one of your toys with you.
I did.
Can you explain what this is?
Yeah, so this is one of our 7-inch Kamikaze drones. 7-inch referring to the propellers that you see there. And with this, you can strap a cut-down RPG-7 warhead. And so this little baby here can be a tank destroyer.
Really?
And the most impressive thing about that is it's round about 300 euros. And that device took out a $25 million air defense system, Russian air defense system, which is absolutely insane because doing the calculations, that's 100,000 times the value of that drone took out a Russian air defense system.
Just one of these?
Yeah, just one of them.
Oh, wow.
And that was with the Achilles Brigade from the bracelet that I just handed you.
Oh, nice. Yeah. The Tse Nasze Nebo.
Yeah, I can't read that.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you. I've been here
thanks,
2.5 years now, and my Ukrainian is still Дуже pогано.
Дуже pogano. Hey, you live in Lviv too, so all they speak is Ukrainian over there.
Yes, only Ukrainian. They're very Ukrainian-centric in Lviv.
Yeah, I've been in Kyiv a while, and a lot of times people mix it up. Sometimes they speak Ukrainian, sometimes they speak Russian, or sometimes they just mix them both and they call it surzhyk.
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of times it's hard for me to understand. Is it a Ukrainian word? Is it a Russian word? Yeah. But are you taking classes or?
I recently did a few posts asking to see if there was anyone there that can teach me, because there are so many people teaching Ukrainian online, but I'm a terrible learner online and I need to be like sat in front of someone for them to bug me. And I don't care where it is. It could be the pub or a coffee shop learning, but just to actually have someone physically there rather than through a screen. Because of social media and the promotion that I have to do through Twitter, I'm always on my phone. So I don't want another thing to be hours of my time staring at a phone screen. So that's just my excuse for not learning Ukrainian, of course.
Yeah, but maybe you'll learn it by osmosis.
maybe.
Just be around it so much,
Yes.
then one day you'll wake up and start speaking Ukrainian.
We do have a lot of Ukrainians in our factory, so I need to learn from them. But yeah, most of the time it ends up with them learning bits of English.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in Ukraine, for 9 years now, like almost 10 years.
Wow.
And
okay,
sure, I've taken some classes here and there. But after a while, I just started to pick it up because a lot of people in Ukraine, I'm sure you experience as well, they don't really speak English too well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so after a while, I'm like, okay, I need to communicate with people somehow. I hear words that sound familiar. I ask people, like, I heard this word a lot. What does it mean? And then basically in my head, I memorized maybe the top 100 verbs. And so I can, communicate effectively. I'm not fluent by any means, but I can communicate effectively, mostly in Russian, but I'm taking classes right now, Ukrainian classes, because I want to be a dobry chlopchik.
Молодец.
Дякую, брат.
Yeah, I remember when I first came to Ukraine and I saw all the letters on the building and I was like, what is this? Being so stupid to not even know that Cyrillic was a thing and being like, I cannot understand anything that anyone's saying, what's written anywhere. And now, 2.5 years later, we could be in the back of a taxi hearing the radio or in one of our cars. And you hear the person talking on the radio, and then you can actually pick up multiple words. You might not understand them, but it's really cool actually being able to hear the words and go, I recognize that. And yeah, I assume it means that when I actually come to learning it, and the fact that now I can pronounce all of these words, it'll be a lot easier. But yeah, I just need to really knuckle down and do it. But we're working 24/7. So it's actually even finding the time to learn Ukrainian when we're in this factory, or meeting wonderful people like yourself or suppliers. It's just we don't take a day off. It's 7 days a week, and therefore just finding a few hours to learn the local language should have been done earlier, but it's finding a few hours in the day.
Yeah, I mean, people like you, as well as we were talking backstage, Trinu Trinzu. Yeah, she is working basically 24/7, just like yourself. And and she also has a job, so she's working like 2 full-time jobs.
Jeez,
I don't
crazy.
know. It's so inspiring, and it's, for me, when I see foreign people here just committing all of their time, and they have no connection to Ukraine before 2022, and they're just devoting all their time. It's like so inspiring. It makes me want to work harder. To support Ukraine, because these people are just like, oh, you know what? There's war in Ukraine. I must do something. Now my life is all about this. And I don't know. It's so respectable, man.
I think it's nearly 900 days now. I got here on the 20th of June, 2022, and haven't taken a day off. There have been days that I haven't been in the factory or in Ukraine, but during those days, they were actually some of my most productive working towards victory, because then I ramped up the social media, or I ramped up all these contacts that I was making. So even if I wasn't in country or, at that current place of work, it was just go for Ukraine for nearly 900 days now. And I know we're, 1,005 days into the full scale invasion.
Yeah, over 1,000 days. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you have quite an influential, I guess you're pretty influential on Twitter, right? You have like 80,000
only Twitter
followers.
Yeah. I'm trying to now build up a YouTube and Blue Sky. I just want everyone to go to Blue Sky, because I hate Elon Musk so much.
Yeah.
You see his tweets about genociding Ukrainians and laughing about it, and it's like, how can I stay on this platform? But I understand that the work I'm doing on the platform is raising so much money for the soldiers on the front that it's hard to kind of pull away from it, because my priority should always be the soldiers, even if I hate the guy that's running this social media platform. So trying to integrate over to there. I've got, I think, 12 or 13,000 people have moved over with me to Blue Sky so far. But there's still, 65,000 people that are in Twitter that haven't moved over yet. But the engagement on Blue Sky is way higher, because Elon throttles, YouTube content, external links. So this podcast, if you linked it on Twitter, no one would see it, because Elon would go, nope, it's not my content, and it's not pro-Russian, and therefore it's not going to be shown.
But right now there's like a big buzz around Blue Sky, and I love it as well. So I go on Reddit a lot.
Yes.
And a lot of times, on these Ukrainian conflict subreddits or these other Ukraine subreddits, kind of where I get a lot of the news, they link, sources from Twitter. And I really love now, and people are pointing this out, that a lot of the sources are coming from Blue Sky. This kind of reputable person, they said this, and they link it from Blue Sky. And people are saying like, wow, it's so great that we're actually moving from Twitter to Blue Sky. Because a lot of people, I mean, I live in this Ukrainian bubble, pro-Ukraine bubble, and a lot of them hate, Twitter for the same reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah. And talking of people referencing Blue Sky more, I noticed that Jake Bro in his videos has said from January, so the second that Trump is elected, all of his content that he'll be showing will be from Blue Sky, and there will be no more Twitter. So he's going to do the full transition. He's already started. And most of the big donation support comes from Jake Bro's community. So I'm forever thankful to that man of what he's done for Ukraine. And glad to see that more people are going Blue Sky, Blue Sky, Blue Sky, and no more Twitter. Yeah,
I mean, I never really figured out Twitter or Blue Sky yet. I mean, I kind of figured out Instagram. This is kind of my social media, but I just feel like I don't really have this strong of an opinion to be like, hey guys, like you need to listen to me. Here's my opinion. This is what's happening. I'm not an expert like in these fields, and I don't really, I mean, you are an expert like in drones. You're doing so much. You've seen so much. So people respect your opinion. I'm just a guy that listens to other people's opinions that are experts.
I wouldn't say I'm expert. I'm an expert myself on drones. I'm kind of like the Elon Musk of drones. I have very, very smart people around me that constantly every day are coming to me and going, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, great, that sounds amazing. Keep it up. Do more of that. Yeah, these things are just absolutely incredible. But it's my amazing team that I got the announcement yesterday. We've built over 3,000 of them at this point
3,000.
now,
Wow.
which is just mind blowing. And we haven't even announced that we hit 2,000 yet. So it's just
wow, so fast.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
you get the funding through donations, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the crazy thing, because if you times 3,000 drones by 300 euros, you're at nearly $1 million of FPV drones that we've now built and are going out to the front lines, which is just mind blowing that all of that has come from Twitter donations.
Okay.
Like just Twitter. And that's within the past year, because we only started full manufacturing December, January time.
Yeah, and it's like grassroots, right? It's, people making these small donations, individuals.
Yeah.
And then
100%.
you make 3,000 drones.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's anything from, $5 up to probably $50. Rarely you'd get someone donating 1,000, but you see how it just all adds up. And yeah, these people on Twitter are just incredible. Community.
Do you know who Mark Lindquist is?
That name sounds so familiar.
Yeah, he's American. He's a motivational speaker, humanitarian. Okay. He does like supplies. Well, he was like the first guest on the podcast, and he may join us, after this for a beer.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so this guy, he's so motivational. He's a motivational speaker. So, but he was like motivating me so much. He was saying right now we're going through the great shift. Yeah. And I was like, can you explain this? Like the great shift is, before governments, they're the ones that decide what goes on like in this war, whether it's going to be won, whether it's going to be lost. Now we're shifting to the people decide if this war is going to be won or it's going to be lost. And the people come together, they donate the money, they build these drones, which like you said, this drone is like what, $300? Yeah. 300 euros?
300 euros.
And it took out how many $1 million?
$25 million anti-air defense system.
So basically that one person that donated, there was, I don't know, 10 people that donated 30 euros each. Yeah. They literally destroyed
a Russian air defense system.
And these are the people that are, making the change in the battlefield, not the governments.
It's the people, first ever crowd-funded war. That's the reality. Ukraine is the first and probably only crowd-funded war. And when at the beginning of this year, the Americans and in Europe, all of the artillery wasn't getting here because for whatever reason, we were just being starved of artillery. These FPV drones were holding the front line. Zelensky came out and said it. All of the military experts came out and said it. We didn't have artillery, so these were the replacement at that time for artillery. So because of this, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian lives have been saved because we could not be in the same position as we are in this war without those FPV drones. We would have been walked over by the Russians at this point. And now Ukraine is producing over 1.5 million of these so far this year, which is just mind-blowing figures, and it really shows you the impact that they're having on the war.
Yeah. Do you know who Sivdiv is, by the way?
Yes, I was just messaging him. Yes, I was watching some of his YouTube videos very, very recently, last week, and then I decided to message him to meet up at some point. Because he was doing some drone development with one of my friends.
I wanted to talk with you about.
So he was developing some drones with one of my contacts I knew in the 25th, and it's so interesting just seeing him, at the front building on these like little wooden desks, it being boiling hot, and me recognizing that desk and going, "Oh, my friend sent me those photos 6 months ago of them developing drones." And yeah, that's one of the groups we're working with at the moment in the development of FPV and the next things that are coming along. Because we always have to keep developing, because the second we make an innovation, the Russians figure out how to...
Of course, like a cat and mouse kind of thing.
And mouse, 100%.
Yeah. But, Rody, Sivdiv, amazing guy. He was on my podcast before. Ooh, okay. It was hard for him to find time, and then he finally came on. Great episode. I mean, definitely when people ask me where should I start on the podcast, I'm like, start with the Sivdiv one.
Cool.
Amazing guy, very insightful. He's had so much experience, and all he does is just make drones. Yeah, we were like joking that he's like autistic, because once he starts making drones, he just doesn't stop. He doesn't look at his phone. He forgets about his video content. He just makes drones, and then when he does his video content, he just makes videos, edits videos, and he gets back and he does only one thing at a time. Because he's so like hyper focused. But his thing right now is drones, and he's like. One thing he was saying is Ukraine is becoming self-reliant because they're starting to produce their own drones. And drones, they can, like you said, there's a big, compared to how much they cost, compared to how much damage they do. Yeah. the exchange is quite beneficial for Ukraine, and Ukraine is like making them themselves. So this is one way he was saying that Ukraine can be self-sustainable and they don't have to rely on other countries for support.
Yeah, it's all about return on investment.
Yeah.
And if something is returning 100,000 times investment, then no military in the world can defeat that, because the other side will just run out of money before it can carry on. Yeah, and with Sivdiv, when I was watching his videos and seeing his frustration about this development of the new drones, that's exactly what we're going through at the moment, because the 7s and 10-inch drones, they're pretty standard now. Everyone knows how to build them. But we're having to develop these new 15-inch carbon fiber bombers. And we're doing all this same PID tuning that Sivdiv was in his videos and trying to figure out all the construction to get these things to actually fly. Because we in Ukraine, just the average person, are having to develop the future of weapons, which is insane, because you go to a bar and you can just imagine the guy next to you that had no idea about this 9 months earlier is now at the forefront of drone development for the Ukrainian armed forces. You'd think you have to be working in some military field or have a degree in some kind of flight, and it's like, no, the information's out there. You just have to trial and error, just like Sivdiv, and figure out what's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, and I saw your video, and you were like, "This is munition. It looks big. It's for this drone.
Yeah,
but we're making a drone for this one." And you're like, "It's so heavy."
Yeah, one of our massive, that was an octocopter bomber, and that was carrying an artillery shell, which is just insane, because as you said, artillery shell this big, and this drone was just cruising along with it, and that's what our new 15-inch bomber will carry. We tested it, and we get about 25 kilograms of lift, so it can easily lift my dog and fly it around. I'm not going to try it for obvious reasons. I love my dog. And it can carry 25 kilograms at 80% thrust. And you just think, when you see that kind of thing flying towards you, I mean, that can carry 3 anti-tank mines, which is just mind-blowing, because you see the damage these things do.
And how long have you been working with the drones?
Only since it was middle of December, end of December last year.
Okay.
We had a drone unit from the front come to us and teach us everything they knew.
So almost a year, right?
Yeah, just coming up to a year now.
Okay.
Oh, November. So yeah, 11 months.
Yeah. So just about a year. So you've probably seen maybe some evolution in how this drone warfare is.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is the next stage?
Well, everyone is saying the next stage is AI, but it's like there's no such thing as an AI kamikaze drone. It's just image recognition. So they say AI is it's not thinking for itself. It's you're saying with the image recognition, that's the target I want. You lock it on, and then the computer flies itself. But you need a secondary computer to do that. So that's one thing. But the soldiers on the front, Achilles specifically, their pilots are so good that if they're jammed, they can just fly 100 meters higher or so, so that it falls down onto the target. Or you just pick one of your drones with a different frequency, because you can't jam all of the frequencies on the front all at once. So there are lots of very smart people coming up with lots of very smart developments in the field of drone technology. But most of the time, the guys on the front are just can we just have more? One really interesting thing is what they're doing with fiber optic cables, because then it's completely unjammable. And then it's the same as a tow-guided missile, that you can't stop it with electronic warfare, and the only option is to shoot it down. But once again, you're doubling the cost of the drone, and then therefore the soldiers say, can you just give us 2 drones rather than the one unjammable one?
So how far are we away from this unjammable drone?
That's already there.
It's already there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So effectively, they just have, fiber optic cable like you have for your internet on a big spool in the back of the drone. And then when you're flying, that's coming out back to the controller. But I think they're limited at, maybe 500 meters to a kilometer.
Okay.
I don't think they can go any further than that. But yeah, you can't jam them. You can obviously still miss if you're not a very good pilot. But
and what is the success rate on a drone like this?
So most brigades, I believe they're getting about 30% hit rate. Achilles are managing to get 50% hit rate with our drones.
No. What makes them better?
the second brigade in the country in terms of effectiveness. So the government has a ranking, secret military ranking, which I'm not meant to be talking about right now. Let's just say they're top 3. And yeah, so they get through 3,500 drones per month. So they're very, very skilled pilots. And the more you fly, obviously, the more effective you become because you're better, you've had more experience. That's one of the things. The second thing is it's the way that our drones are constructed. So because every single last piece of soldering, connecting, component on our drone is the highest quality it can be, it means when you have the pilots with the goggles on, what they're seeing is crystal clear footage, rather than footage that starts kind of breaking up when you're getting close to the target. And that is just simple electronics. It's electrical signals, and when something is built to a higher standard, then it results in a higher quality image being fed back through the transmitter. Yeah.
Okay, what is the most expensive piece on this drone? Is the camera?
Most expensive bit? The video transmitter.
Okay.
Yeah, camera tends to be quite cheap. Motors aren't that expensive. The flight stack changes. We're starting to use a Ukrainian-made rather than a SpeeDB. But yeah, the video transmitter tends to always be the most expensive until you slap. There's normally a massive battery on top of this. Didn't bring it along. It's very heavy. But yeah, we're starting to use Samsung batteries, and that's about $80 a piece just for the battery. So nearly a third of the drone's cost can be the battery. But it's so important, especially as the weather's getting colder. It's the difference between you actually reaching the target and not. It's like the difference between an extra 5 and 10 kilometers of distance towards the target, which is very essential when you're trying to hit stuff like anti-air systems that are all the way back away from the battlefield.
So do you have any, but I want to backtrack a little bit. Do you have any connection to Ukraine? Like, do you have any family here?
Nothing at all.
So what motivated you then, like, you know, after February 24th, 2022, what motivated you to actually come to Ukraine and devote all your time to this country?
I think like everyone, we were just watching that 24-hour news cycle that started probably a week before the full-scale invasion, and every single news outlet was just showing the images of the tanks amassing on the border. And then it was the moment that the military blood banks and hospitals popped up. Everyone said, you don't do that for a simulation. I can't remember the word, not simulation, but
so it's like
training exercise. You don't do that for a training exercise. And yeah, so I was watching it from then, and I had it playing 24 hours a day, like next to my bedside. So even when I was sleeping, I had the live feed of what was happening, because it was so devastating just seeing these tanks roll in, and all of the images of the helicopters over Kyiv, and just everything like hell unleashing. And it was at that moment I was living in Spain, and I decided I cannot, sit there whilst millions of people get genocided. I can't be in Spain living a beautiful, wonderful life when.
What were you doing in Spain, by the way?
Just relaxing.
Just relaxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd spent 7 years or so working in publishing, actually.
Okay.
And then I'd never had more than a week off of work, and decided, hey, I deserve at least 6 months off. And because of COVID, everything was really cheap. So I was staying in like hostels in Spain, and just going to the beach every day, drinking sangria and playing beach volleyball and watching the sunsets and making new friends. And yeah, it was a really, really awesome time in my life. But yeah, war is a lot more important than enjoying yourself in Spain.
Yeah, of course. And so what made you actually take the step to come to Ukraine? I know you're watching the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
You understood this is, it's a tragedy what's going on in Ukraine. But what made you go like, I need to be in Ukraine?
Yeah, it was Zelensky's call when he was outside of the government buildings with the guys behind him, his whole team behind him, saying, we have not left Ukraine. We're not leaving Ukraine. We're here, and we're going to fight on. That was the moment that I decided I'd come out. Stupidly at first, I was like, yeah, I'll go fight. And then realized, okay, I'll be dead in like a week. This is stupid. I have no military experience at all. Yeah. I've never picked up a gun. And I understood. I think the next night he came out and said, can people with like some military experience come out, not a bunch of cowboys that think they know how to fight, because they didn't have enough like body armor then, they didn't have enough guns, and so my only option was to go to Kyiv and make Molotov cocktails to throw at Russian tanks. And I didn't fancy my chances too much. So then I started researching, how can I help Ukraine? And I searched everywhere. I was on like Facebook and Instagram and Google, and there wasn't at the time a single site or a bit of information of how a foreigner could help. Very obvious reasons. They were being invaded at the time and didn't have a moment to upload a blog of how to help Ukraine. Fortunately, now we made a site called volunteeringukraine.com, and that's where I think like 80 or 90% of foreign volunteers find out how to help in Ukraine, which is mind-blowing. Like thousands of people have come to Ukraine because of the information. So that's one of probably the proudest achievements, is, you know, showing people how to get here, because I struggled so much. I just had to get on a bus, come into the country and say, can I help somewhere? Like, is there anyone around that I can do something?
And you're a founder of Frontline Kit, right?
Yes. Yeah. Frontline Kit and volunteeringukraine.com. So that was an idea that came about, just as I said. No one knew how to help Ukraine. And now I travel around the country individually vetting volunteering opportunities, because I want to make sure that international volunteers that are coming here are safe, and that they're going to a legit organization, and that they're not going to turn up and the organization says, we have no record of you, or we don't exist. So that was very important. But Frontline Kit is me, but it's also this incredible international volunteer community that I have now in Ukraine. There are probably like 50 close friends that make up Frontline Kit now. And they are the international volunteers that have been with me for the past 2.5 years, that have dedicated their time off work to come help out every 2 weeks or every month. And I have people from, I don't know, it must be 40 different countries that have come to volunteer with Frontline Kit. And that is, you know, whether that's making drones, or, you know, energy bars and jerkies for the troops, or trench candles, or rebuilding homes. We do everything possible to help humanitarian and military. It's whatever's going on in the moment in the country, we'll assist with.
Yeah, I want to talk with you as well about the energy bars. Yeah, I love when people help Ukraine in unique ways. And then I was reading about, like, you developed some energy bars. I'm like, wow, this is like super cool. It's because I know they need, you know, the energy. They love energy drinks. You know, in the East. Yeah,
it's insane. You've been out East and seen the non-stop cartons, right?
Oh, no, I haven't been out East, but you know, people always tell me. And then plus this one time, I just told the story last episode, but I'll tell it again. So my friend Alexei Maslow, I don't know if you know him. He has an organization, International Aid Legion. And he brings, he's brought like, I don't know, over like a couple hundred ambulances, you know, fundraised for them, and then brought them from the border. They mostly originate in like Belgium, Netherlands. And then he brings them to like the East, and he fills them up with supplies, medical supplies. So I was with him in Kyiv while he made a stop, and he like opens like the side of the van, and he had boxes full of tourniquets, boxes full of IFAKs. And then an equal amount of boxes full of energy drinks.
But all like, non-stop, right?
Yeah, these are supplies for the troops.
That's the one brand, right? Yeah, they even make a military version now of non-stop. But when I was last in the Blindash, I said to the guys, like, you have some water down here? It's like, nope, it's just non-stop. And I was like, this is horrendous for your health. Because I just had like a stack of non-stop, and all night and all day they would just be drinking that. Not good at all. But yeah, the energy bars is just as and when the guys in the trenches say to us, hey, can we get some more of those? The only nutrition we do is the nutrition that you have like in one of your magazine holders, so you can quickly pull out kind of mid-firefight and have a snack, which is insane to see. We've had a few videos from our guys where the guy in the background is literally having a machine gun firefight, and he's just snacking away on some jerky. And this is mad, but it's just for when they're kind of on a mission, because there aren't many foods that exist that you can just carry around with you.
Actually, do you know what churchilla is?
No.
Churchilla. Okay, so I lived in Georgia, the country, for like 3 months. And tricella, so basically it's like this, it's filled with nuts. So basically the outside is like, fruit roll-ups.
Fruit roll-ups.
Do you know, okay, so it's like,
you're saying all these things I don't know.
yeah, okay, fruit roll-ups are common in North America. Okay, so it's like this fruit kind of paste, I guess.
Yeah.
And so anyways, this fruit paste, it's surrounded, like in the middle of it, it's like nuts. And it looks like a long kind of sword, I guess. It's like this big, like this thin, and it has like a, I guess like a little rope on the end of it. And you could, typically these were for Georgian people that were hiking in the mountains. So the nuts and like the fruit, they give you like energy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the protein. And then you just tie them to their backpacks and they just walk and they just take them out, take a bite and put it back. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I can send you a link to it, Churchilla.
Yeah, maybe we'll start copying it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, our bars are pretty much, they're like 50% nuts anyway.
Yeah. And you don't have to have packaging. You just, I don't know how they do it to make it like,
Sounds magical.
Yeah, no, but I just thought about it right now because they travel like, the Georgian people, it's a very mountainous region and they need something that that's mobile, that is, full of protein. Yeah. But, anyway, so, let's talk about, so you came to Ukraine in June of 2020.
June
2022. Yeah. Okay. And you started working with drones just a year. So between So between June and was it December of 2023, you were finding your way trying to found an organization, or what were you doing in this time period?
No, so for the first, probably 9 months to a year, I was doing various volunteering work, from rebuilding homes around Irpin and Bucha, Hostomel kind of regions, and making some food rations for...
You were in Lviv, volunteer kitchen, right? Lviv.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's right. I read that. And you were there in which year?
So that was 2022.
2022, because one of my good friends, Noah, I don't know if you know him.
Noah.
Yeah, he's like the head chef there now. Okay. He's like, celebrity chef. He was on MasterChef the US.
Yeah.
And he's quite well respectable. Like,
I saw what happened to the MasterChef building here in Kyiv. Jeez.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because Noah, he was a guest judge on MasterChef Ukraine.
Really?
And I told him, hey, can you invite me? He goes, yeah, sure. Yeah. So we actually went to that warehouse.
Wow.
Yeah, I was his assistant. I was helping him like record and take photos and stuff.
You saw the devastation.
Yeah, and I saw devastation afterward. Yeah. No, it's crazy because I'm like, oh wow, we were just there.
Yeah. And being in a studio now, it just makes you realize how horrible, and you just couldn't imagine that effectively a missile could come through this roof, and everything that those people had worked for with MasterChef is just blown to pieces.
Yeah.
So I was doing that for a bit, and then I met a YouTuber called Harold Balder, a travel YouTuber, and he said to me at the end of December 2022, he said, "Rich, why are you not telling people on Twitter about like what's going on in Ukraine?" And I said, I've never really had a Twitter account. And then he explained like NAFO to me. And I was like, what? There are cartoon dogs and they're fighting Russian disinformation. And I like buy something from St. Javelin and that magically makes me like a dog. I was like, okay then.
So you're a fella.
Yeah, I'm a fella. I don't have my fella icon anymore. I just have my face. But yeah, I was one of the original NAFO lot. And probably in the beginning, half of all of my followers were like cartoon dogs, and if you weren't a cartoon dog, I wasn't replying to you. I'm joking, but
if you see a fella, follow a fella.
Just the most supportive community ever, and so that was what built the original Twitter following. And then I left Lviv and I traveled around the whole of Ukraine. So I've been to every single oblast in Ukraine. And then some people say, "Oh, what about Crimea?" And I say, "That's an autonomous community."
It's not oblast, So you've been to Luhansk?
I've been to every oblast when we were going.
Which city in Luhansk? Because most of it is like occupied right now.
This was in January, February of 2023.
Okay.
And we were going from Kherson all the way up to Kupiansk. So we went Kherson, Zaporizhia, and then it would have been somewhere in Sloviansk, somewhere in that oblast. But we effectively followed the front lines all the way up. So wherever it was that wasn't occupied at that time. Yeah, we've been to, geez. So we were there for when the Russians blew up the Nova Kakhovka Dam.
Novakhovka.
Novakakovka. Sorry, I always muck up the
Oh no,
pronunciation
it's all
of that.
right. Yeah.
And then that was when the following on Twitter really exploded. A huge German community.
No pun intended.
Because yeah, geez, poor people. And we got two speedboats and we like raced down there.
Oh wow.
And we were rescuing cats and dogs from the homes around there and bringing food supplies to people that are in cut-off communities because the floods were just devastated everything. So yeah, there were lots of humanitarian aid missions that I was doing in the year of 2023. Delivered, probably at least 10,000 food parcels on behalf of the Canadian-Ukrainian Foundation in Kupiansk. That was 3 days before they gave the evacuation order. Yeah, and you saw the artillery coming down around you, and you were like, shit, we're like going into this place to drop off food parcels to people that refused to listen to the evacuation orders. Yeah, so that was 2023. And then at the end of 2023 was when the drone thing came about, and that's been all I've been doing, apart from some stuff with helping orphanages and taking injured soldiers up into the Carpathian Mountains for like rehabilitation breaks.
Yeah. So you've been you've been doing many frontline visits.
Yes.
And I remember watching a video of yours where you're walking and there's like an explosion in the background. That was like a close call.
Yeah.
Are these common for you when you're on the front line?
No, that was in January. We were in Kupiansk before that area of the woodland fell. 500 meters from the Russian position, because they dug 800 meters underground and actually broke into our trench line the night before and killed our guys. And then that morning we were going in, dropping off camouflage nets and thermal drones to the guys where one of our artillery units was. And yeah, obviously they spotted us, or they were just firing back at our artillery position of where we were firing out. But yeah, we nearly got hit. As you saw in the video, me and Alex hit the ground. Yeah. And it's so surreal looking back at that video and trying to understand what it was. Was it a blast wave that threw us to the floor? Because
it literally threw you.
At the same time, both of us went, and we didn't understand. Like, I was just trying to watch it and understand what was going on. And the soldiers were laughing when we got into the trench, like, you okay? Like, normal, no? And we were shitting ourselves, like, oh God, we nearly died. And then we had Russian kamikaze drones coming at us when we were pinned down in that trench.
Wow.
So we managed to survive the artillery, and then it was just drone after drone after drone. And I thought we were going to be there like 4 or 5 hours pinned down, but after maybe 40 minutes, we just got up and the guy said, okay, you have to go now. It's a bit quiet. You can get out of here. And then we ran back to the car. But yeah, even once we got back into our car, the kamikaze drones were coming after us. Yeah, we were just shaking like this. And we dumped our car into the bushes, and the commander got out, and this Russian kamikaze drone was sat in the woodlands like 150 meters in front of us. And I was begging him, like, don't go to the drone, because I'd seen the videos where the drone pretends to be dead, pops up at the last second, and then flies into the Russian or Ukrainian. And he was walking towards this kamikaze drone, beeping in the snow and going to kick it. And I was like, please don't, Madame, don't do it. Yeah. And in the end, it was fine. And we were all laughing manically about how incredibly stupid we are.
Is there anybody, because you've probably met like a lot of people, military and maybe civilians as well.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that you met that, had like such an impact on you? Told you like a story about, why they're there? Because I meet so many inspirational people, and some stories just like touch me deeply.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you've met a lot of people, so maybe you have something similar we can share.
I'd probably say the most inspirational people I'd met, and it is a group of them, is when we were taking soldiers from Truskovets Hospital. And these guys had just had limbs amputated, whether it was 2 or 3 days prior, and they still had the cling film like wrapped around like the fresh bandage. all guys that had been recovering in that hospital for 6 months or so. And the most inspiring thing when we were up in the Carpathians with them, all sat around a table late at night chatting away, was that, over half of these guys were saying, the second I'm healed, I'm going straight back to the front to go fight with my boys again. And it's like, these guys, you've lost a leg or you've lost one of your arms, and they're like, nothing's going to stop me going back and defending with my brothers. And we just said goodbye to one of our friends, Igor, who went back to the front probably a month ago now. And we gave him a car and we gave him an EcoFlow and some drones. And it's like, okay, Godspeed, brother. And yeah, geez, people like that, they affect me so emotionally that they've given already more than anyone should have to, literally given life and limb. And and they're going back to the front.
Like, have you been to the Superhuman Center in Lviv?
Yes. Yeah.
So, I was there maybe a couple months ago or something like this, and it's so crazy to see like how many amputees there are, and I love the state of the art kind of prosthetics they have. I love it, but I met a guy. He had he had 2 arms, prosthetic arms, and 1 prosthetic leg.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was. No, actually, no, 2 legs and then 1 arm. Yeah, to me, it was like, it's crazy. And he was, I saw him. He's like, in good spirits, and I don't know. And it was all because of this war. And there was so many of these guys there. Yeah. One guy that didn't have an arm, like he was just talking, waiting for, I guess, like his turn to get a prosthetic or something like this. But it's so crazy. This normal, average, everyday people, they're defending their country. Now their lives are changed forever.
Yep. Yeah, when we were heading back from one of these retreats to the soldiers in the mountains, we were dropping one of them off at Superhumans. And this guy was incredible. He used to be a professional, like, horse rider acrobatics person. And he performed for the royal family in England. And, like, this guy went to war. And now he's at Superhumans getting, like, a new arm and legs. And it's just, like, you go from being this professional horse rider performing for royals to then being on the battlefield with the guys on the front and losing everything, but then going back to fight. I don't know many other people that could do that apart from Ukrainians. They're just so unbelievably resilient, and they would give everything for their fellow man. And I know so many countries that are completely divided now and wouldn't support their fellow brother, and Ukraine is just the most brotherly nation where they will always look after their friends.
When I was there as well, we got the opportunity to interview the founders of Superhuman Center, and we were
American or
no, Ukrainian. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they said the reason why they founded it is because they understood a lot of people were losing limbs in this war, and they wanted to do something to help, and they got so much funding. Wow. And they built you've been inside, right?
It's
a state of the art facility. Yeah. And when I was there, I guess Howard Buffett.
Howard Buffett.
Buffett. Yeah, I said Buffet. Howard. I guess I'm hungry. Howard Buffett. Yeah, he actually happened to be there. Yeah. When I was there, he was like doing like some interview. We didn't get to talk to him or whatever. But I guess he's one of the main donors. He's donated millions of dollars.
So I was with him down in Kherson with the floods. So when we were going out to rescue the animals, we got the call that the artillery was coming in too hot. And he was actually sat in the car like next to us.
Wow.
And the guys were saying to us, you might be a little bit upset that you can't go out now and save the animals, but this is like one of the biggest donors that's helping out everything that's going on right now. And he's also been told that he has to like sit in the car and wait for the artillery to calm down. And it was that moment that we got the call saying the mission to get the dogs and cats out of buildings is over. We're now on body recovery. Oh. And it's just like, geez. And this is what Howard was down there, and he was going to be with the film crews going out actually recovering these bodies. But it was too hot at that moment. So it got called off that day. But just insane. But that man is doing so much for Ukraine and making so many impassioned pleas to the rich and wealthy people in America to say, look, this is our business and we have to be doing more. So,
He's
yeah, I
a
think it's
billionaire,
an
right?
amazing man. Yeah, he must be
Yeah.
multi-billionaire.
Yeah, because
The
there's like
Buffett family.
99% of billionaires I hate, but
Yeah.
I guess he's the 1%. It's
Yeah.
I saw him at Superhumans. He was like one of the main donors.
Yeah.
And then what you're saying right now about him actually being there, like
Yeah,
close to
on
the
the
front
ground.
lines, just wanted to see what is happening, just so he can show his rich friends.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a few hundred meters from artillery.
Yeah, he has
And
my
this is
utmost
one of the
respect
richest
for
people on
this.
the planet. Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, this is wow. Yeah, I didn't know that he was going that deep into Ukraine. I mean, people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump, they would never set foot in Ukraine. No.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's nice to have some billionaire heroes out there.
Yeah, exactly. There's one.
Need.
It's like Batman.
Yeah, his car was pretty cool though. I saw this car. And I was like, that's a billionaire's car. It's one of these, big American like pickups
Really?
kind of thing. Yeah. And I was like, who is in that thing? That looks very expensive. Yeah.
So why did you decide to make your base in Lviv?
That was just where we were at the time. My Ukrainian friend Ernest lives in Lviv, and he was like, "Hey, like, should we do drones? Like, the guys are begging us for them at the moment." So, and that was a big thing. And most of the volunteer community that I built up in Lviv were there, and it's such an easy place for people to come in and out of. Whereas if you're talking about having a base in Kyiv or Kharkiv, the amount of time that you have to spend on the train, as you'll know, you can spend a whole day just getting there.
Yeah.
And when you have foreign volunteers that are just popping in for a week or 2 weeks, you don't want to be losing 2-3 days of your time. I'm currently talking with people about building extra factories around the country, so expanding out. I want to go to Kharkiv, but it's a bit dangerous because obviously they have S-300s and Iskanders coming down all the time. I think we can find a safe spot because I love Kharkiv. It's just so beautiful. It's like, one of the most beautiful cities. And to think they're just, 20 kilometers or so from the Russian border, which is insane.
Yeah, I've had many opportunities to go to Kharkiv, like before the war, after the war, but I've never gone. And I would love to see Kharkiv.
I would take you.
Take me, man. I have a lot of friends there as well. You were talking about animal rescue evacuations earlier.
Yeah.
Do you know this organization called Nordog?
Oh, I have a patch from them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I must have met someone last year because it's a very distinctive patch.
Yeah, it's like the German Shepherd. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I have met them. I don't know if it was at the NAFO Vilnius conference. So I've definitely met them, but I need to hook up with them. I don't know what they're up to.
Yeah, they're based out of Kharkiv, and one of the guys, Noel, he's from Switzerland.
Okay.
And he spends like all his time, and he puts his life on the line just evacuating animals from the front line. And he has like YouTube videos as well.
Wow.
His channel's like smaller, it's growing, but he's amazing guy. He was on my podcast before, and he actually I invited him to my birthday about a couple months ago, and he came and he donated some patches. We were raffling them, auctioning them off. So really good guy. And I don't know if maybe you met Frederick. He's the founder of Nordog. He's from Norway.
I guess I would have because he would have been the guy that gave me the patches. But that was I think a year and a half ago or so that I would have met him. But it's incredible that these people put their life on their lines to save animals on the front. And I love dogs. Love dogs more than life. But it's insane that people drive into these places under shelling to rescue these animals. Yeah. I understand why, because dogs are amazing. But literally risking your life to save a dog in these places. These guys are heroes, not just evacuating people, but going into these places. I've seen the videos that are cutting the chains off the dog houses and getting these guys out. I don't think I could ever be brave enough to do civilian or animal evacs. It's too many of our friends have died doing it, and
No, I totally understand. I asked Noel as well. Like, I mean, you're risking your life as well as maybe your colleagues' lives, and animals love them, but is it really worth it? And to him, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very controversial to ask, is it worth it? Like, animals are amazing,
I
especially.
don't think the North Koreans would agree on, saving the dog's life.
Yeah.
Snacks. Maybe that's why they're taking the food source away from the North Koreans that are coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also I wanted to talk with you about morality of drones. So when people are donating money for tourniquets or IFACs, with that in mind, donating that money, in their minds, they're actually saving a life.
Yes.
When you're donating money for a drone, you're actually taking away a life potentially. How do you, I guess, deal with this in your head?
So now, rather than just calculating the amount of money of like Russian equipment we've destroyed, I like to actually think of it as Ukrainian lives saved, because you think, okay, every time one of those hits an artillery piece or a tank or an air defense system or long-range missile systems, like the amount of Ukrainian lives that are saved because you've taken away an artillery piece that's firing on 500 to 1,000 of our Ukrainian soldiers in a day. These things are probably saving more lives than medical gear on the front, because you're stopping them needing the medical gear in the first place. It's better to send a drone than to send a guy on an assault of a trench. If you could replace one guy with 1,000 of these drones, that is very, very well invested money, and you could just spend all day hitting the trench line.
Yeah.
And that's so much more important to have one of these going out there than a Ukrainian soldier. And especially as the Russians will always have more people that are there and able to fight, these things actually level out the battlefield and save our guys. Unfortunately, the situation is killing Russians won't end the war. They will just keep throwing more and more, and it means nothing to the Russians or to Putin. He doesn't care. You can send another 1 million Russians to die. No problem at all. But what it does is it stops them getting to our guys and killing our guys. So I fully just see these as a defensive weapon at this point that are saving Ukrainian lives. So yeah, obviously it is taking Russian lives, but I'd prefer to see a Russian die than, coming and actually getting to our Ukrainian trenches and killing our guys. And yeah, as I said earlier, when we didn't have artillery, these were the things that were holding the front. These are the things that are saving the lives of our guys and saving the lives of the civilian population of Ukraine. If they kill our guys, they come to the civilians next.
Yeah. We saw what happened in Bucha, Irpin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone knows exactly what would happen if Russia had full control of Ukraine. And these drones are stopping the genocide of Ukrainians. So yeah, you can talk about morality and say, oh, but it's killing some Russians, but really it's stopping Ukrainians dying, and that's the way that we have to look at it. And obviously no one on my team sees any issue with taking the life of Russian soldiers, because if we've produced 3,000 drones, we have well over 3,000 dead Russians because of them. Yeah.
So we talked a lot about this grassroots, like individual support from people. I want to talk a bit about government support. So there was, I know you're not American, but there was an election recently.
Yes.
I'm sure you saw it on the news.
No, please tell me about it.
Yeah. But anyways, Donald Trump, he's the president-elect now. And a lot of people are saying that he may cut off support for Ukraine. What are your thoughts on this? Because if this government cuts off support, it'll put more strain on you and your the people that fund your organization, and also it may lead to a ceasefire or ceding land to Russia. How do you feel about all this?
It's a change agent. Obviously, I didn't agree with. I nearly said Putin getting in, but Trump getting in.
Trump, same thing. Same thing.
But it's a change agent. And it's insane that it took that to get the Biden administration to say, oh, maybe we should actually send this aid a bit quicker, and we should send the remaining $6 billion that we haven't spent yet. And it's like, yeah, but why were you holding it back? You understand that the more you hold back, the more Ukrainians die. So it's like, okay, you can't really do much of a worse job than what Biden was doing by intentionally holding back supplies, restricting the use of long-range weapons. Everyone agrees that was just cost Ukrainian lives. I understand that their idea is escalation management, but yeah, it's just more and more dead Ukrainians because of their decisions. So, yeah, now that Trump's in, we have to live with the fact. We have to understand that maybe it is a change agent. Maybe it means there will be more support coming in. And maybe it's going to get Europe to go, we should actually start thinking about the fact that we don't have the great United States of America protecting us anymore. And we can't trust in Trump to come to our defense. So they're all ramping up support too. And maybe it will push them to do more to actually end this war in Ukraine rather than just watching us bleed out.
Yeah.
Do
Do you think the collective West, collective Europe can win this war?
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt.
Without putting boots on the ground?
How many jets and missile systems do we have? Like, we've only given Ukraine the stuff that is going out of date, and it's like, there we are.
But Richard, we don't want to escalate the situation. You got to understand.
Yeah. I love watching these cartoons from Free Honest, and he's constantly showing about when these countries are saying about escalation, and Ukraine's there with rockets landing all down behind him, and it's like, what do you mean escalation? How do you escalate more than, hundreds and hundreds of Shaheeds and rockets hitting you every day? Like, what more are you going to do?
And there's North Korean troops too involved in this. It's like, this is escalation.
Exactly. How many other countries will join in before Europe says, maybe this is our our fight too? And yeah, everyone here, we understand that Europe and America are obviously doing so much to support us. They are giving all of these systems and money and everything. And the reality, apart from America and England, they didn't have an agreement where Europe had to come help. But they also need to understand that Ukrainians are bleeding out because of the delays in all of this. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians did not have to die if we were just quicker. But because of Putin and his fear of pressing the big red button, all of Europe and America said, okay, let's do this slowly. And
it's all politics. And, I just hate the fact that Russia gets to dictate where these red lines are. They say like, okay, if you do this, then we're going to push the red button. But I wish that the West and the US especially had a backbone, and they kind of knew that Russia was going to invade, whether Russia denied it or not, because they were denying it up until they invaded. If the West or the US just said, hey, this is our red line, you put one troop into Ukraine, 100%. We're going to get involved. We're going to give them all the weapons, and whether we give, put troops and boots on the ground, we're giving them all the weapons they need, and you're going to have a really tough time.
Yeah,
this could have been a red line, and then that means like Putin would have to think, is this worth it?
But you
and
saw
maybe
what happened when Macron did that, and he said, if they go to take Kharkiv, if they go and try to take Kharkiv again, we have put French boots on the ground. And what did all of Europe and America go? Macron, you got to step back. We can't put boots on the ground. And it's like, what are you doing? You're taking away this idea that we will actually help or actually do something, such as putting in a red line, as you said there.
Well, because all these governments, they're worried about their re-election chances.
Yeah.
If one French person dies, then it's bad for his government, and he may not get re-elected. And also the people in his party that supported this, they might not get re-elected because a French person died in Ukraine when they didn't have to. They voluntarily put their troops there. So this is the game they're playing, and it's like all politics.
Yeah, which is very sad.
No, it's very sad because amazing people are dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with my buddy maybe about a month or so ago. I'm not going to say his name, but a military guy. And he had a couple of his friends, die recently. And he was like, and we had a drink together because he needed a drink. And he's like, I was just with them 2 weeks ago before they got deployed on this mission. And now they're dead. He's like, I saw a video, from the Russian side, where they're standing over their bodies.
Yeah.
And I recognize these guys. I'm like, wow, these are my guys. And he was so beat up over it, like so beat up.
And that is the reality every day, especially at the moment. Every day, our trench lines are having Russian aviation bombs dropped on them. Still, because we haven't pushed back these Russian airfields, even with these longer range missiles. Every day, our guys are getting hit by drones on the front, and it's a complete bloodbath. I was talking to Achilles the other day, and they were explaining about this idea that 300 or 400 meters away from the trench now it's just an instant death zone. You can't walk about. If it's daytime, you cannot go outside because you will be hit by a drone. There's no ifs or buts. So everything has to happen at the night because,
Mhm.
yeah, the reality is just if anyone goes outside now in this war, you will die.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, now they're targeting, not now they've been, but also like in Heatherstone, they're just targeting civilians. Everyone in Heatherstone City, that's the red zone
yeah,
to them, and they're just attacking civilians. So people can't even leave their flats during the day.
yeah,
Civilians.
yeah,
It's really sickening, man. These people, like Russia, and I was telling a previous guest, you know, a lot of people in the West, they think like this war is about, you know, Russia, they're attacking, you know, Ukrainian troops are attacking Russian troops. It's like one military versus the next. No, it's like Russia, sure, they're attacking Ukraine, but they're also attacking civilians, like
yeah.
terrorism. Like they just attacked Odessa recently, like a few times this last week. And where they attacked, I know where that is. I used to live in Odessa for about a year up until I moved back to Kiev. And that streets that they attacked is like a block and a half, 2 blocks away from where I used to live.
Hmm.
Like the corner of that street is this coffee shop I used to work at. And there's nothing there, just like all apartment blocks,
And
civilians.
I guess that was a massive rocket system they fired in. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's Odessa, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it just like the whole street was like basically destroyed.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's cluster munitions too.
Yeah.
In the center of Odessa,
Yeah.
like it's nothing. We were down in when we were down in Kherson, we got the call that a little grandma, little babusia's house had been hit by a mortar shell. Exactly as you said, you know, civilian target. There was nothing military anywhere nearby, 100% residential, and it's mortar, so those things are accurate. And we turned up, and the house was still smoldering, and she was absolutely devastated because her husband died. Her elderly husband, was buried under the rubble of their roof. And she was scrambling with her nails, just trying to dig her husband, her love out. And yeah, to just be there moments after, knowing that Russians had taken everything away from this woman, her home, her husband, everything.
That just makes me sick, man. I don't know. I just feel so angry and sad at the same time.
They just want to scorched earth.
Yeah.
They want to destroy Kharkiv. They want to destroy Kherson. They want to destroy Zaporizhzhia. If they can't have it, they will burn it to the ground. It's the Russian way.
It's basically it. And yeah, I'm sure you were in Lviv for this. Do you remember the attack? It was probably like 3 months ago or something like this.
Yeah.
They attacked Lviv, and that man, he lost his wife and 3 kids.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3?
3 daughters.
3 daughters. Yeah, 3 daughters. Yeah, I was there the day after. I was doing just a report on the ballet.
Yeah.
And then we met some people that actually lived in that building that was attacked. And then we interviewed them. It's sad that I went to the funeral. This guy was crying and everyone was right there trying to console him, walking by in a line. It was sad. This guy, and he's not unique in this aspect, because there's other people that lost their whole families as well. You know, this babusia, like you said, lost her husband.
Yeah. And I think the biggest shock there was Lviv is 1,000 kilometers away from the front line. And even there, you're getting hit with shaheds and rockets, and people just have this belief that like, oh, well, no, Russia only attacks on the front line. It's like, no, Russia is bombing every single city in this whole country as much as it can and as often as it can with shaheds and rockets, because all it wants to do is sow chaos, destroy all of our energy infrastructure, so we freeze out in the winter. But I assume you went and saw the house of this guy who lost his wife and I was there, and to see this amount of shrapnel and holes and broken windows in every single surrounding house where that shahed hit was devastating. And it was like a small bit of Kharkiv, but in Lviv, because in Kharkiv all of the buildings look like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to see that building and go, shit, this guy's wife and kids and everything he ever loved was taken away from him. For no reason, just Russian aggression and terrorism.
Yeah, it's just terrorism. It's basically all it is. We've almost reached our time, but I just want to ask you. I like to ask the guests this because, especially you've seen a lot here in Ukraine. You've talked to a lot of people. What do you wish more people in the West understood about the current situation in Ukraine?
That's a great question. I wish I had some fantastic answer for it. Just that it's still going on. You know, the most common thing when you speak to someone outside of Ukraine is, oh, is it still happening? Is the war still going on? And I just want more people to just understand that, for instance, down in Kherson, there are still people that are Ukrainian that are living under occupation. And when, Trump and other leaders talk about a peace deal and giving chunks of Ukraine to Russia, they need to understand what they are calling for is a genocide of millions of Ukrainians. It's not giving up territory or giving up a bit of land for peace. It is genociding those people because they will never be allowed to return to a free Ukraine. And I don't think enough people truly understand that there are still people living there that are Ukrainian. And when we went down to Kherson after the liberation, you met these people, and these are Ukrainian people. And right now, Russia says that Kherson is one of its territories, that those people that we met are not Ukrainian, but are Russian, and a Russian territory. And it's insane, and people need to understand that Zaporizhia, Kharkiv, Kherson, it's all Ukraine. Yeah. And we can't just give it up because some people in the West decide that it's better to genocide millions to have a lasting peace for a year or 2 years until Putin decides to invade the rest of Ukraine and therefore Europe.
Yeah, no, it's true. I had this interview yesterday with this. He's an Olympic gold medalist from Ukraine. His name is a gymnast. His name is Oleg Vernyayev.
Okay.
Anyway, so he's from Donetsk.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about, because he started his Olympic career, I think it's 2009 or something like this. And he was in the European Championships when, Russia, they sowed discord and they entered like the Donbass region and they basically, they controlled it. So I was talking to him. I'm like, I haven't been back to the US in like maybe 3-4 years.
Wow.
I kind of miss home. I'm kind of nostalgic for my home, but I can go back whenever I want.
Yeah.
How does this, feel for you knowing that you can never go back to your home, your hometown where you're from? And he's like, Corey, like, I really miss my home. He's like, I really want to go back. I miss like the arena there, where I practice. I miss, walking the streets. I miss all of this. I want to go back home. I can't go back home. He's like, it hurts me. I want to go back home though. And there's so many people like this.
Yeah.
They just want to go home.
People want to return to even Ukraine, you know, all these people that are still in Europe and Americas and that are still refugees because of this Russian invasion. And you speak to people from Kharkiv and you say, why are you not in Lviv or, somewhere safer or fled to Europe? Because every day you're getting hit by cab bombs and cruise missiles and every single kind of thing that can kill you, yet you still stay here. And they say, it's my home. Kharkiv is my home. I can't leave. I don't want to leave. Like, why would I go somewhere else? And they just don't. It's just, regardless of Russian aggression and rockets, and Ukrainians will never leave. And this is why Russia can never win, is because you can't occupy a whole country and subjugate its people when they hate you to their absolute core. Yeah, and whenever I see kind of these videos where they're evacuating people, and it's like, babusias and like, they just won't leave.
And they won't leave. They don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them because this is all they have. Literally, this is everything they have, whether it's destroyed or this is all they have. And even if they do come to Kyiv, they have nothing. Like, they have to start over at like 80 years old.
Yeah.
They have no job. They have a small pension. Like, what are they supposed to do? So they'd rather live in a war zone than be in safety because this is all they have. They have no, I don't know. It's so sad when you think about it.
I partially agree with you, but at the same time, I'm just like, please, can you leave? Like, the Ukrainian soldiers are risking their lives, or volunteers are risking their lives to go in and get you out because you've said no to the past 5 guys.
But that's all they have, Like,
I understand.
They're gonna get like a job in IT. Like,
I fully agree.
How else to live,
it's so sad when you see these guys dying, trying to convince these little babusias to get out, and it's like, come on, how many more people have to die, or how many Ukrainian soldiers have to risk their lives because these people are partially being selfish, but obviously, as you said, these are their homes, and what else are they going to do? Horrible. And we wouldn't have to have this conversation if it wasn't for the bloody Russians pushing these little grandmas out of their homes.
And it's not even that, it's just their home. Like, a lot of times it's like their parents' home, their grandparents' home, and it's been passed down. They have like a strong connection to the land. Yeah. And Ukrainian people do have a strong connection to the land. It's like an agricultural society, And so I know a lot of people are dying trying to save them, you know, but I can totally understand why they're so, I don't know, they don't want to leave their lands, you know?
I can't count how many times on my hand I've heard a babusi say, "Well, I can't leave my garden. You know, who's going to look after my garden? It's like, the garden's not going to exist.
Okay.
Please, just leave." And it's like, "Oh well, I've got to do this. I've got to look after this." And there's always some little excuse.
And they'll say like, "Are you hungry? Do you want some food? I have some borscht."
Yeah.
But okay, yeah, we're just about at our time right now.
Cool.
So, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to discuss?
Just if people can support what we're doing, you know, support Drones for the Front, because as I said earlier, these are the things that are saving the lives of our guys. So Frontline Kit on Twitter or Richard Woodruff.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do it like this.
Us.
You can look at this camera right here.
This camera.
That camera. Yeah.
I see ya.
Yeah. No, you can plug away your organization, how people can connect with you, plug your social media channels. So yeah, just doing that.
Okay. Frontline Kit. Beautiful drones for the front lines of Ukraine. We build these all in Lviv without charge. All of our team of volunteers build these drones for just their parts cost. So you can find me on Twitter, Frontline Kit. You can support us at angeloflife.org and Richard Woodruff on Blue Sky. But please, these are the things that are saving the lives of the Ukrainian troops on the front. And every single one is built to absolute perfection because we believe that our guys on the front deserve nothing but the best. Дуже велике дякую and Slava Ukraini.
Heroism Slava. So I'll sign off right now. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Expats in Ukraine. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more amazing episodes just like this one, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to, chats with Rich, leave a comment down below. You'll look at the comments, right?
I will look at the comments.
Okay.
I'll reply to everyone down below.
Okay, you promise?
I promise you.
Okay, he promises you guys. So thanks again for watching. And Rich, I'd like to shake the hands of the guests.
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate it. Everything and all the gifts.